Hey guys, today we're going to review the week 3 discussion in case you missed it, or if you just want a quick review of it. So in week 3 we talked about knowing the basics and rule of 3, so let's jump into it. Okay, in any disaster situation there's 5 things you're going to have: fire, shelter, water and food, first aid, a way to signal, and security. So the fire, you're going to need a way to build a fire. It's going to provide you with warmth, light, a means to cook, and it's going to offer you some protection as well. So make sure that you have a fire starting tool like a magnesium fire starter or stormproof matches. They take up very little space and you can just throw them right in your bag. But just in case something was to happen and you don't have those or you lose those, you should also know how to make a friction fire or the bow and drill technique. It's going to help you to make a fire if you don't have the fire starting tools. Also, you're going to need shelter, obviously. If you already have a bug out location, you're probably good on that. But if you're stuck outside for whatever reason and you don't have like a tent or a tarp, you might have to build a earth shelter. And we're going to make some videos later to show you how to do it. But it's going to help to keep you out of the weather. It'll help your body to retain heat, especially if it's cold. It's going to prevent hypothermia. It helps you to stay hidden, and it does provide security as well. You're also going to need water and food. So you can easily store those chemical drops. They're iodine or chlorine drops. You can buy at any sporting goods store, or even a regular store like Walmart. They have them in the camping section. So, throw some of those in your bag. On the bottle it tells you to wait 30 minutes before you drink the water. After you put the tablet in, make sure you do. You can also take a clean water bottle, fill it with whatever water you find, place it in direct sunlight for 6 hours or 12 hours for on a cloudy day. You can also make your own filter or water filter if you don't have them with you out of gravel, sand, and charcoal. We'll show you how to do that later as well. You're going to need food. If in your bug out bag, if you have some MREs, that's a good option. But if those can be costly, so you can actually make your own. Just Google how to make your own MREs. You'll find it. It's easy. Or you can pack other non-perishable foods. Depending on the situation, you might have to scavenge or snare game. You might have to forage. So make sure you, if you get the time, or actually make the time to look up what are edible wild plants. That's going to really help you if you're out there, especially with no food. First aid, make sure you have the basic first aid supplies with you. Throw them in your bag as well. I would recommend taking first aid and CPR. That way, in case a disaster happens and you get hurt or someone else gets hurt, you're not going to panic. You're going to know what to do and how to do it, and possibly save your or somebody else's life. On the signaling and security, I put those together. It's not necessarily a either or, but perhaps a both. Depending on the situation, you might need to signal for help. You can use a flare gun, a whistle, mirrors, smoke canisters, or trail markers. Those are going to help to draw attention to you if you do need help. But I put security on there also because in some situations you might be purposely trying to stay hidden. And so for that reason, I suggest you take something along for security. You could take a knife, which takes up little space and has multiple uses, especially if you carry it on your hip. Then it's not going to take up space in your bag. But you can use it to build your shelter, dig holes, clean game, self-defense, and security, obviously. Some people, might take a gun along, and a little note about that is they're very effective, obviously, for hunting and security. But remember, you're going to also need to take ammo. So I would suggest taking, at minimum, 100 rounds per weapon. But it is very important to remember that if you're trying to take 3 or 4 guns along in a disaster situation, you're going to need ammo for all those guns, especially if you're walking. It's really going to stink because you're trying to carry all this stuff. It's getting heavier and heavier, and you're just depleting your energy, basically. So, if you take a gun, just make sure that you have enough ammo and that you can carry it without stressing your body out and depleting your energy. So I just thought I'd throw that little helpful tip in there. On the rule of 3, this is the survival rule of 3. You've probably heard this before, but it says that you can survive 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and 3 hours in adverse weather without shelter. Some preppers think the rule of 3 also should include, or also means, that you need to have 3 of in whatever type of container you'll have. That's going to be, first of all, very difficult to manage, very heavy. It's kind of overkill. Some things you're going to need 3 of. I would suggest definitely 3 of fire making tools or techniques, and especially the water purification methods. So those are things you definitely have to have, and if you have 3 of each, it's going to ensure that you have backup plans to get your fire and get your water. Also, if you have to evacuate for whatever reason, it's a natural disaster and your city or local government, whatever, calls for a mandatory evacuation, make sure you have 3 routes of escape. Everybody and their dog is going to be trying to leave on the same highway. You're going to be stuck there for hours, and it's going to really be a pain in the what. So make sure you have 3 different escape routes. I would suggest, practice those at least a couple times a month. That way you're aware if they're doing road construction or if they're closed down for any, reason. Also, it's going to provide you with an alternative, to get to your location faster, too. Because if you're stuck in traffic for 4 hours, not moving, you could have been on that back road going a different way and getting there. So, have your backup routes, that's fine. But take a map, and also, I would suggest take a compass, just in case. Can't be over-prepared, I don't think, anyway. So, on the rule of 3, just always remember, you can survive 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and 3 hours without shelter. So this concludes our week 3 discussion, and I hope you'll join us for recapping on the week 4 as well. Thanks for listening.